and welcome to Career Launch Live. I am your host, Catherine McCord, and I have an awesome guest with me today. I am very, very privileged to have him with me. I've actually been on his show several times. I have the one, the only Miha with me. How are you today?
Hey, hi, Catherine. Well, doing good myself. How about you?
I am good. It has been busy but wonderful this week, and I think the thing I am most proud of is that I got accepted to be a speaker at another convention talking about
Nice.
diversity and inclusion. So I'm very, very
Congratulations.
happy about that. It's my little brag
Congratulations.
for the day.
No, yeah, like it's hump day, so you achieved a lot.
That's right. You got to get over that hump somehow, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about you, first of all, and who you are and where you are and some of the amazing things that you do.
How much time do I have?
Oh, all of it. Whatever. Just take up the whole show. I don't care.
Yeah, no, I'll try to be super quick, and then you just go ahead and ask me whatever you
You
want.
got it.
So my name is Miha Matlievski. Everybody knows me nowadays as the fail coach, and there's a story behind it, like with everything else. I am from Slovenia, a very small European country. And for the last almost 4 years, I'm now living in Eastern Europe, in Serbia, because of the animal rescue that I do on the side of the coaching. That's why I do the coaching, basically,
Which I
to be
love.
honest. Thank
I
you.
love that. I love it. And by the way, I have a new foster. I think I told you that. Super
Yes.
proud of her.
Yeah.
I love animal rescue. And I want to kind of pause on that real quick. I love meeting people even across the world that are into that same passion.
Well, that is kind of like my whole why. And there's a story behind that as well. Because of the failures, hence the fail coach, there was this one little furry thing that really helped me not to commit suicide back in 2010. And so I'm still alive because of Happy. And later on, as I got out of all of that and I did a whole lot of personal development and business development, in 2014, I created a startup. It's still one of the few super fast scaling. We went from 0 to 730 million in revenue in 2 years.
Congratulations on that.
Yes, it was a little bit of a hostile takeover at the end. So not much I can talk about it. I had to sign a very lengthy NDA.
Hey, whatever. You grew it that much. That's amazing. 700.
Yeah.
I just want to repeat that number real quick, just for kicks. $730 million.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I can process how much that is in my brain. Like, I'm not sure that my brain is like registering that that number appropriately. But that's awesome. That's really cool. So you sold that, and now you're off to coaching others on how to be awesome.
I kind of fell into the whole coaching thing, to be honest. I never envisioned myself as a coach. In my mindset back then, I thought, well, if you don't know how to do things, then you go and you teach and coach others. So that was my mindset. And, I've been proven wrong. And, the 007 says, never say never.
That's right.
So,
I love that.
I started going to a whole bunch of meetups, sharing my story, just to help people with mental health issues and stuff that are very present when in entrepreneurship. And fellow entrepreneurs started asking me a whole bunch of questions, and I really loved helping people. And somehow I thought, well, if I help more people, then I can make more money that can go towards the animal rescue. And so those two things are very much connected.
I think if I was, shopping for coaches, let's say, and one of them told me, hey, if you go with me, that money is going to go help a bunch of little cute fuzzy creatures, I would definitely pick that guy, like 100%. like I want all my money to go to that. Let's help animals.
You shouldn't just pick based on that, but yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, whenever I work with people, and I'm not saying, all my clients, they have to be super I would never work with anybody who would be against animals or something like that. So that would be a line for me to draw.
So no Michael Vick for you. No dog fighters.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, it kind of, the two things kind of complement each other. The whole the whole fail thing and the lessons learned. Because the biggest aha moment for me was when entrepreneurs were asking me, like, how do you do this, how do you do that? And basically nobody has a blueprint for you. Nobody can tell you exactly yes, in a framework sense of a way, like, oh, you first need to create product market fit, you need to validate it and so on. But nobody can really tell you, like, do this one thing and everything will be
poof. And that's one thing. I have a lot of first-time business owners. For anybody watching who doesn't know. So I started off my career helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses. I've now grown a couple to success on my own. And the number one thing that I have people ask me is kind of like, what's the trick? Or how do I guarantee success? And I said, yeah, that's not a real thing. Just so that you know that there's no one thing. Little glitches always happen. Everybody's experience is different, even in the same industry. I can't even tell another staffing company how to 100% be successful. I can give them some of the tips as to how I became a success, but will that work for them? Is that the right thing for their market? Is that the right thing for their business model? What if something like COVID happens? So
oh, something happened. Now I'm not sure if I'm live or you are live or any of us is live. I still see the live button. So what do I do now? I can awkwardly stare at the camera. Well, I think it's not on my end because I'm just speed testing my internet connection and it shows that it's pretty damn good. So it could be something on the other side. Checking my iPad here to see if she is sending me some messages. Maybe, ooh, my electricity is gone or something like that. Could be. It happens. It happened to me before. So yeah, thank God I'm good at random rambling. But yeah, not sure what's happening and if Catherine will be able to join us again. So trying to see if somebody is with us live, if I can catch some comments, if I'm disconnected or Catherine's disconnected. So trying to figure out what's happening.
Well, that was interesting. So I had to get a whole new technology. My technology just broke.
Oh, okay. So you went off. Okay, well, I was just randomly rambling.
Good. I'm glad that you rambled and entertained everyone. Sorry, everyone. And this is kind of an example of what we were talking about, by the way. Stuff happens. Yeah, who's sitting here doing a show and your technology just shuts down? I mean, seriously. Didn't lose power. It just went, I'm done with life. I'm dead now.
Okay. Well, it happens. I mean, I was just wanting to say something when you were, saying, oh, there's no magic thing. Well, there is a magic thing, but it's not that magical. The thing is, you throw a whole bunch of things out, you test them, you try to put some KPIs on it. And one thing that helped me, and it's helping many of my clients, is a process that happens after a certain action. And it's a 3-step process, which is reflect, learn the lessons, and then put things into action. This is the one that most people fail to do, the last one. So often they will do reflection. Less times they will see what lessons they can learn from the good, from the bad, but the least amount of times they then actually put an action plan in place to implement the lessons.
I've seen more businesses tank because they spend all of their time having planning meetings and kicking back and forth ideas instead of just doing something. And I think that is an important aspect to remember. And yes, you do need to plan, you do need to research and all this kind of stuff, but do stuff. Don't forget to do stuff in your company.
You need to balance it, like no thinking, just doing. That got me into trouble.
That's not good either. Yeah, that's not good
Overthinking, not doing, that will get you into trouble. So figuring out, and that's why you need that super clear leadership. And that's why I don't believe in democracy in a company. I love democracy, but at some point,
not in a company.
Needs to
that's
say,
not it.
This is what we will do,
so
whether good or bad.
Start with that. So let's kind of start from the beginning here. So our show today is how to scale effectively and on budget, by the way, PS, because money matters. And I've seen more companies die off due to poor budgeting than I can ever tell you. I mean, it's hundreds of them die off because they didn't know how to budget. So when you're starting off a business, I mean, like you said, there's the obvious stuff, get a website, get your payment processing if you need it, do all that kind of stuff. But the first thing I kind of want to touch on is exactly what you said right there, right before we started on this. So at the beginning, make your pyramid. Who's at the top? Who is the decision maker? That's it. They say something, it goes. No more talking to anybody else. And even if you have a partnership, in terms of day-to-day operations, there still needs to be that person.
Well, here may be one thing, because very often I deal with multiple shareholders. And the first thing we have to do is separate the shareholder part, where there's really not that much that you have to do as a shareholder.
Right.
Lay down some basic foundations in the beginning: vision, mission, why are we doing what we're doing, and then basically you show up every quarter for a financial call, and once a year you do the voting, and that's it for the shareholder part.
Right.
And then when it comes to management and operation, that's a separate thing, and they need to be. And it's hard because it's very hard for people to take heads off and on, because those are the different heads. So we do have a system in place. Well, I help them set up a system so that they have different meetings for different roles that they are in, with a very clear agenda. And as shareholders, we might be 50-50, one-third, or whatever the percentage is. And we talk in that kind of way, and we can exercise some democracy, or at least majority, or whatever
the case
it says in the official papers. But then when it comes to management and operations, there needs to be clarity. If there's no clarity, no leadership, everything will just take way too long, and nothing will be accomplished.
To your point, I once had the privilege of working with a really cool, unusual event company. I'm not going to give a name. Had some amazing ideas, did some badass events. I mean, just stuff you haven't seen before, stuff that, blew away even, really large clients like Atlantic Records and stuff like that. But they tanked because they kept giving everyone a vote on everything. And everyone was involved in meetings for every little tiny decision. And they tanked because of that. Because then, to your point, nothing ever got done, right?
Yes.
So there needs to be that clear, and I'm not just talking about having an obvious president or manager, but you don't need to have meetings for everything. Okay, this person can handle this. This person can handle this. This person handles this. Get it done, and then you come together and collaborate in the middle.
The golden rule in leadership: who does what by when.
Yes.
If you don't take anything else from this chat, who does what by when, and who is name, surname. not department or multiple people. No, and even if that particular person doesn't even they maybe just oversee, and they have a whole team. But when it comes to leadership, if I'm the CEO and I appointed you, Catherine, for something, even though maybe you will just project manage the whole thing and a whole team of people will be doing, at the end of the day, I'm going to ask you where we stand with that thing, and you better have the answers.
100%. Somebody has to have accountability, and somebody has to have responsibility for it. Period. Yes. End of story. Another big one, and this one always kind of makes me laugh, is the other side of that, though, is don't be a control freak, right? You have to learn, and I'm actually bad about this. I'm speaking from personal experience, you guys. I am a type A personality. I try to hold on to everything, do everything myself, and I can do a lot more than a lot of people, but I can't do everything. It's not possible. You have to be able to part out. And one of the things that happens from that, so then people go, oh, okay, I'm overworked, now I need help. They either hire someone and never actually give them anything to do. I've seen that dozens of times in a startup. Or they hire before they're actually ready to have a full-time person. So one of the things I want to kind of talk about with you is, I would love your perspective as to when you outsource something to, let's say, a contractor, like, let's say it's virtual assistant, you just hire a VA that can do 4 or 5 hours for you whenever you need it, versus actually bringing on a full-time executive assistant, that type of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I always, like all my startups, we never had the luxury of way too much money. So we always had to be grinding our way through the resources. And so first of all, when you're a small startup, until you have maybe 20, 30 employees, hire more of the Swiss Army knives so that people can be in multiple roles. So you can always balance it a little bit, project manage it, and this person can jump in and help here and so on. So
100%.
That can be one thing. And then, of course, use those outside resources like freelancers, agencies, VAs. I mean, there's plenty of people out there. What you need is a good system to give them what you need from them, but also a good systems of quality management and quality control, so that you don't micromanage each and every step, but you still want to maintain quality control over the big steps, or at least when it's necessary, from somebody in-house or from somebody senior to have a look before you deliver that, let's say, to a client, or because something goes public or something like that, because then you have to do a whole lot of PR, and that's even more expensive.
And that's one thing too. I think that the number one class that entrepreneurs could use is how to do this without breaking the bank. That's the number one, because I see a lot of people and they try to cheap out on the wrong things. The things that you don't cheap out on. You've got to have the best internet because you don't want your stuff breaking down in the middle of a show or whatever else is going on. You have to have, you want to have good employees, and you don't want to undercut somebody and underpay them. That's a bunch of nonsense, and you won't keep somebody doing that. So, and I tell people all the time, they'll go, oh, I need this big expensive office space so I can impress everybody. No, you don't. Well, no, you don't.
I mean, if you're on a tight budget, then you need to, it's so easy to turn on the autopilot. And I need this, I need that. I mean, us entrepreneurs, even if you give us 48 hours in a day, there will always be more things to do.
Yep.
It's like, just let go of, I want inbox zero, because then you're not an entrepreneur. If you accomplish inbox zero every day, by the end of the day, then there's something wrong with what you're doing. So you need to figure out what your priorities are. So very often, I call that firehouse, because, so often we are on the fire ground, solving things, doing to-dos and so on. But as a leader, you have to spend at least some time in the firehouse. And that's where the growth happens. That's where you stop a little bit, take a step back and rethink. Do we need this? Do we need that? What are our priorities? And sometimes you have to do that multiple times a day, especially when you're scaling. And not the scaling that we see on Facebook lately. Just the other day, I saw somebody, I help coaches scale from 1,000 a month to 3,000 a month. That's not
that's not a
scaling.
No, a scale, a scale is what you described earlier, from 0 to 730 million. That's a scale.
That was on the extreme end, and I would not recommend anybody to do that.
No, but if you're going from like $5,000 a month to $200,000 a month or something like that, that's a scale. That's a scale. That's what that looks like.
So when that kind of scaling is in question, you will have everything breaking apart at least a few times a day, and you need to be mindful. You need to have pattern interrupts like mine was, and everybody laughs at me for that, and I laugh at that as well. But it just helps me to take a step back, and I just do like and and I know it's silly, but it's silly, but
it breaks that. Breaks
just
that
so that I can step away and say, okay, I'm very emotional. What do I need to do right now? That's not the decision-making phase. Okay, let's do a quick walk. Let's do a 5-minute meditation.
That's something I'm going to hit on too. Business owners and entrepreneurs are going to be very passionate people.
Yes.
And they're going to get, I'm going to say it like that. We are going to get overwrought. We're going to get more passionate about something than we ought to be. We're going to get more upset about something than we ought to, more excited about something than we ought to. Everything's going to be very high. So you have to learn how to balance that, like you're saying, and find ways to bring yourself back down and go, wait a minute. Okay. So what I do for me is I listen to a song or something that'll get my brain a little out of that manic phase. And then I stop and go, okay, if I was consulting one of my clients, how would I tell them to handle that? And then that's how I handle it. Because maybe one of my team members does something that was wrong and irritates me and that they know they shouldn't have done because I've told them a dozen times. And my instinct is to snap and bite their head off. That's not cool. So I got to stop, reset, do all that. And the same thing with business decisions. So let's say something comes your way and they're going, oh yeah, if you spend this much, you'll get this much return and it'll be so great. It sounds great as an entrepreneur, but sometimes you have to stop and go, okay, but is this the right time for that? Even if that's true, is that the right time to spend that money? How is my payroll looking? Are we still going to have an emergency fund if I do that? You have to plan on all of these things, and you have to constantly be looking at the bigger picture. You can't just hone in on this one little tiny thing. You have to expand your brain and look at everything and go, wait a minute, eagle eye view here. Is this really smart for me?
Yeah. I mean, we could probably spend next couple of hours talking about this because there's just so many little things that go into that. Like, how do you ground yourself? How do you go from emotions to logic? Like, what are this techniques, that technique? So we could easily spend hours, but I would say here, women in entrepreneurship or in leadership are actually in advantage because for most women, they accept that human beings, we are emotional beings, and they don't try to run away from that fact.
Right.
Now with men, most often they think that they are very logical, but it's really just suppressed emotions and stuff and things underneath the surface. So it's even more challenging for men than for women to find that grounding
it's true.
for themselves.
It's true. And actually, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs over the years, and I would find that to overall, and of course, there are always exceptions on both sides, but overall, that's very, very true. And so I've had people ask me, why are women strong entrepreneurs and why are women growing so much in entrepreneurship? And I said, it's our mindset and it's our emotions. It's the way that we handle them.
I guess since a very young age, everybody's telling you, oh, women, they're so emotional,
Mm-hmm.
and in a way, you've learned to accept it. But the reality is that we as human
Everyone.
beings, men and women, we are
Yes.
emotional beings. And
Mm-hmm.
with men, you know how it is: be a man, suck it up, play with,
Ugh.
toy
Yeah,
soldiers and stuff like that. As a man, you don't let your emotions out, you don't share, you don't talk. But that's really wrong approach. So
it is.
the more that it's kind of like finding that balance between the feminine and the masculine side. We all
Yes.
have both, and it's easier for women to tap into the masculine stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
always easier to work with an aware, emotional person and get them into some logic than
Yeah,
from somebody who thinks that it's logical to get
and
them
get them to
onto the
emotion. That's
emotional
very
side
true.
and balance.
That's very true. I've worked with that a lot on the employee relations consulting side. That's 100% accurate. And I think, too, another important thing to hit on here, because a lot of entrepreneurs make this mistake. I've seen a lot of clients over the years want to hire yes men, right? Or people that are less
Yeah.
dominant personalities. And while, I mean, you want to have a diverse staff, not just racially, age, and all that, but in terms of personalities, that is very important. But when you're getting people that are going to work hands on with you day in, day out, get people that will bow up to you and tell you that you're wrong,
Yeah.
because you need to hear that sometimes, or you need
Yeah.
a different opinion that's going to make you think, oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, no,
you
no,
know
diversity is the key. I mean, those yings and yangs, that's the key. I mean, if like the number one role of every leader is to find a mix of different people, and then
Mhm.
understand how to really manage them, how to make them work together. Now, of course, there are certain things where it might not be a cultural fit, or it might be a
Right.
completely not fit on the values. Well, then you have workarounds where maybe you buy the expertise, and then you work with more junior people. Like
Hmm.
I always say to everybody, I always buy the knowledge, and then I can work with more junior people,
Yes,
and we can get them where they need to be. But I still
absolutely.
have to surround myself. My number one coach that I work with, he's a complete opposite of me, and we disagree on everything, and we can talk for hours. And usually after 2 to 3 days, when I sleep on things, I'm like, you know what, you're right on that. Or
Yeah,
sometimes we come up with something in
or
between, or
compromise.
a
Yeah.
completely new thing,
Yep.
and so on. So
My COO and I are just like that too.
yeah.
We are, I mean, if you came in here half the time, you would think that you were at a joust. I mean, we are just back and forth, going at it. But ultimately, we both have the same goal. And when we both separate and then come back together, we go, all right, you know what? I hear you on this. Let's compromise and do it like this and all this.
Yeah.
And on this subject to you guys, I want to specify. So, I mean, he's talking about how he'll disagree with his other coach, and I will hash it out with my COO. But I want to go ahead and take this moment to talk about respect for other people. So just because it's your business, or just because you're running a business, does not mean that you're the queen or king of Sheba. Okay. You have to show respect. And even if you are, you should show the respect to everyone at all times. So even when you're in the middle of something, keep it professional. You can go back and forth and hash it out and be like, what are you talking about? But remember that you're all on the same team, and remember to be respectful. That I see that all the time too. I have seen entrepreneurs tank their business, and I mean time and again, by
Yeah.
not respecting
Well,
people.
sometimes it's ego,
Mhm.
and sometimes it is the lack of growth mindset. So
Right.
again, a topic that we can talk for hours on it, because there's just so many of the
Yeah.
little things that can go into that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And because yes, you have to let go of the ego, but then if you're the leader, you still have to make the final decision. So
Yes.
again, it's not black and white, it's not zeros and ones. It's a bit of this, a bit of that, and then just really understanding how to balance all those different things together. And again, being okay with fucking up as well.
Yeah. And you're going to tank. Okay, entrepreneurs, listen to me loud and clear, guys. You are going to fail at something at some point. You may even fail at your whole business and have to restart it at another time. I did. That happened to me at one point. You have to do that sometimes. I mean, there was a whole point in my business where I had to step back and just do it part-time and then regroup and get it back into full-time.
Catherine,
and that's part
if I can just jump in a little bit. So when do we fail? We fail when we are doing things that we don't know yet, that are new to us. So we fail when we step out of the comfort zone. Something when it's in the comfort zone, you won't fail because you've done it thousands of times and it's on autopilot. Now, as entrepreneurs, we are aiming for bigger, better, higher, newer.
So you have to get out of that comfort zone. You have to.
Yeah. So I would be scared for my business if every week we wouldn't fail. It's how we deal with that failure and how we understand it and how we bounce back from that is different. We have 100%. A healthy relationship with failure, but you have to fail. If you're not failing, you're not pushing, you're not going for big enough, you won't reach your dreams and goals in your comfort zone. Then you would already be living your dream life. And if that's the case, then, great. But if there's more that you want, you'll have to go outside of the comfort zone. And there we go again.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. You're back.
This is the day of technical issues. Hold on.
Okay. Let's wait for her to come back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My technology today, man, this is not a good day for technology. It is failing me epically.
Catherine, when you are the fail coach, it's so great because every time when you fuck up something on stage or, with everything, you say, well, I'm aligned with my brand.
Yeah, here it is. I'm aligned with my product. I'm failing. I embrace it. And I tell people that I embrace when things get messed up. I embrace the human element on the show, on, in my job, in life, on stage, when I speak. You just have to roll with it. Sometimes you're going to fuck up. And this is what I tell people. So here's what separates the lame from the great, right? So I love sports. I am a huge football fan, born and raised, tragically a Cowboy fan. And I love football. So here's my sports analogy for the day. So look at Tom Brady. He is hands down, no questions asked, the GOAT, the greatest of all times in football. In his position in quarterback. There is no comparison. He's lost a Super Bowl. He's been knocked down to the bottom. He's been, knocked off his pedestal. He's had a bad game where he's thrown interceptions, got tackled to the ground, made himself look like a fool when it counted most, dusted it back off and got right back up on that horse and won yet another Super Bowl and has broken basically every record there is to break out there. It's amazing.
I mean, that's funny the difference. Thing, if you are ever in a situation when you're surrounded with more seasoned entrepreneurs, what I mean by seasoned, people who've been in entrepreneurship for a while and, they reach 7, 8+ figures, most of the time, those beer conversations are like, oh, you remember that time when we tried this and then, oh boy, it was such a fuck up, but then we learned this and this and then we did this and voila, bam.
And
I mean,
we
all we do when we sit around the campfire, we share our failures and we love doing that because we learn from each other so much, from other people's failures as well. It's really more the new people in entrepreneurship who have such a big fear of failure. But then once you've been in business for a few years, you understand that failure, I mean, it's like death, taxes, and failures.
Yeah.
Those are the two certain things.
100%. 100%. And I think that the more we start talking about that and just talk about that, it's not that big of a deal. Like, don't be embarrassed, don't be upset, just embrace it and run with it and go. Great. I mean, I've known multiple clients that have had to restart their businesses that just tanked it and went, okay, whoopsie daisy. All right, let's try it this other way and see how that goes.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process. And even just, on the day to day, just the little stuff, even if you don't lose your whole business, if you just mess something up or an account doesn't go the way that you wanted or something like that, learn from it and keep on trucking. You'll get in your feelings, you'll get in your head, dust it off, let yourself feel that for just a little bit so that you can learn from it. And then start climbing yourself back up and doing things to get back up there on that horse and keep on trucking. Fight, get up. Stallone, Sylvester Stallone, who, by the way, is an oddly inspirational story. You wouldn't think that Rocky would be all that inspirational as a human being, but he really is. And he talks about that. He said, it's not how hard you hit, it's how many times you get back up. And that's it. Or it's how you get back up. That's so true. You may get knocked down, but how do you get back up and keep on going?
Well,
it's true.
Healthy relationship with failures is a logical relationship, not an emotional one, because when we get emotional, we start creating those stories and all of that, and then we can easily go on that hamster wheel or roller coaster or whatever we want to call it. But the thing is, failure in something is always a result of a process that was happening beforehand. And maybe we did wrong steps, maybe we had bottlenecks that we didn't see. That would be smaller failures, wrong step, bigger failures. And if we focus on the process and if we improve the process, we will reach the goals. I mean, back in 2009, I lost 4 companies, roughly $20 million, and went $5 million in personal debt in one single day, December 7th, Monday, 2009.
Wow. That's a bad day.
Yeah.
That's a real bad day. I don't like that day.
No, but I would not change it for anything. I'm really grateful for that whole experience, because I wouldn't be who I am today without that. And I really needed that because I was a douchebag before that. And
I like that you know that. You just called yourself out. I was a douche.
Yeah, I really was. I was very self-centered. I think I probably thought that I'm the King Midas. Whatever I touch turns into gold. I was cocky. I was greedy. I was going for things that I had no clue about. I started a huge real estate project without even building a dock house before. So I had no knowledge. So like things had to happen. And I mean, I'm really grateful that it didn't last longer, the luck, because then maybe I would end up in 50 million in personal debt, and maybe then I would go forward with the suicide.
And I'm glad you didn't, by the way. And I've been there too, and I know what that feels like, and I've hit that rock bottom twice actually in my life. Not fun. I think, and the lessons that you get from that are so important. And I think that, like you, although I learned it in a very different way, the humility aspect is huge going forward in business, and not
you
thinking
you learn how to be humble and
and giving really and giving and giving. And you're such a giver, which is something that drew me to you. And not just in your personal life, helping the animals and all that, but even in your professional life, you do a lot of giving. And I started surrounding myself about a year and a half ago with more and more givers, and the people that I just saw constantly putting great things out there and giving more than you ever saw them asking. And there's still a couple people I've yet to see them ever ask for anything, which is kind of amazing. They just kind of give. And those are the people that are the most successful that I find. There really are. I'm sure that somewhere out there, there's some jerk that's just got the King Midas touch and everything turns to gold for him no matter what he does.
Well,
but
Catherine, first, what is success? For me, it's happiness, living in alignment with who you are. I've had all the Kardashian lifestyle and all of that, and I was empty on the inside. So what do I really need? It took me on a journey of self-discovery, what happiness really means to me. The other thing is, when you do something for somebody else, it's just 100 times better.
Yeah.
I mean, that fuzzy feeling in your heart is just so much better. And
I love money, and don't get me wrong, I love when my bank account gets a new zero in it, but the best joy I get is taking care of my clients and when they hit a milestone. When I help them reach a milestone, I love that. Or if a candidate that I that I had a conversation with gets a job, that lights me up. If just something like that, or somebody's helped by the show and reaches out to me and goes, hey, I made this connection because of your show, and now this is going on my business and it's so awesome, thank you very much. That's the stuff that gets me every single day, and that's the stuff that drives me, and my passion for making things right and for making things better is what drives me. And so one thing I've always told people that want to have a business, if you don't have that, don't do it, because all the stress that comes with it, all the tiredness, all the lack of sleep, because you are going to be a crazy person as an entrepreneur. You're going to not sleep. You're going to wake up at 2:00 in the morning, wide awake with some idea, and you just have to go work. And that goes on for about a year or so. And then it'll happen again. It'll go through cycles. And if you're not driven by a passion, that's not going to be worth it.
Well, I mean, I think there are like 4 types of why people would go into entrepreneurship. Now, that impact purpose driven is one type. Now you have the ones who are just motivated and driven by the material stuff. It's 4 groups. I can't remember which 4 are.
I think those are more business owners, though, not so much entrepreneurs. Those are like I'll buy a franchise, or I'll just buy it and let somebody else run it. I don't really care about innovation or anything. That's kind of more the business owner aspect, not so much I separate those things pretty distinctly. But
it depends how you define. You could
it depends on the definition that you
entrepreneur and startups, and that could be a difference as well. Startups are definitely crazier owners than just the entrepreneurs, because as a startup you are aiming for something big right away. Entrepreneurs, they might just go for a 6-figure business, and at the end of the day, a big question that everybody needs to ask themselves is also what's enough. Because I think this whole drive, we have to go bigger and bolder and this and that. You have to ask yourself what's enough for you. I mean, yes, I have my crazy big why because of the animals, and yes, I if I would earn billions a month, it still wouldn't be enough to help all the animals of this world. And I have other ideas on what to do with that money as well. So, but just figure for yourself what's enough for you. If you just want to travel a little bit, spend time with the family, maybe a 6-figure business is all you need, and that's okay as well. So
you don't have to want to be a millionaire to be a good entrepreneur or business owner.
But often everybody, especially in the social media, it's always the hype, why would you be this when you can be that, I mean, I came across this quote a few years ago, and it really, really stuck with me. It's by Albert Einstein, and it says something along the line, don't just be a man of success, rather be a man of value.
Oh yeah, I like that quote. That's a good one.
I just love it. And but also, like you said, I have 0 problems with the money, and I think more people should talk about the money mindset. There's nothing wrong. Money is a tool. It's what you do with it that really matters. So if you give me more billions, well, I'll be able to save and help more animals and children and things like that. And somebody, if they're a douchebag, they're a douchebag. You know how they say in vino veritas, the Latin saying. So give somebody a few glasses of wine, and you will really see who they truly are. And
That's
the same
right.
goes for money. Just throw some money at somebody and you'll see who they are. Are they a
very, very
great
true.
person or a bad person?
That's very, very true. I've seen that time and again. And you know what's interesting too? So my clients over the years that was revealed about them, that they were just about themselves and that they would rather buy themselves a new Porsche than pay their employees. First of all, I fire those clients once I figure that out about them, because if you don't pay your people, I have no use for you. But those people always end up closing down every single time. The ones that prioritize that over their own people. Now there are people that do it right. Now there are people that do it right, that they make money, they still pay their people, they still take care of people, and those people thrive. And wonderful. That's fantastic. Look at Google. They're like that. There are some other smaller companies that are that way as well. You can be rich. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're still taking care of your people too. There's nothing wrong with prioritizing the money, as long as you're still taking care of your people and all of that as well. The problem is when you forget that it's not just you doing it. There's all these other people here too with you that are part of your team.
Well, that's part of the foundations, and the foundation starts with you, the entrepreneur, and morals, values. That's all part of the foundation. And we have different morals, we have different values, but somehow I believe in that karma thing, and that sooner or later, unfortunately, what I see a lot of the times is that karma doesn't hit the person that does wrong, but maybe it will hit their children or grandchildren. I've seen a lot of that when then health issues and stuff like that happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't really hit that person that really deserves it.
Sometimes, and those are the best days.
Yeah.
I get that way. I know people are always like, oh no, think happy thoughts and be positive for everyone. Nope. If you suck, I want bad things to happen to you. I just do. It's just that human element inside of me. But kind of as we're wrapping up, kind of the last thing that I wanted to touch on with you, because you and I both work around hiring, right? And helping job seekers and all of that as part of our work. So when it comes to scaling your business, when it comes to staff and hiring, because that scares a lot of entrepreneurs. They're like, oh crud, now what? And how do I find people effectively, especially right now? The job market is bonkers. It is bonkers right now in the US and probably other places as well. So what are your thoughts right now as to how an entrepreneur who's scaling up, maybe just getting their first couple of employees, can effectively find talent?
Well, first thing is prioritizing back office stuff. So, most entrepreneurs, they really just focus on product or service, marketing, sales, but they forget about the back office stuff, like HR, finances, taxes, those things, the boring stuff, because it doesn't really reflect in more sales, but it needs to be taken care of. So putting the right priority on that, and then just really either learning about the HR or finding people who can help you, whether that's a consultant or an agency that can support you, or an expert who can help you set it up, hiring a person to take care, at least part-time, of the HR, because you need to lay down strong foundations for HR.
100%.
You can't, I don't know of a company that is able to scale without human resources. Yes, automatizations, yes, robots, all of that. Things you can scale with less human resources nowadays
but you
than
have to have
20 years ago, but you still need human resources. And and
accounting.
If you forget about that thing, it can be really hard. Like when I'm working with my clients, I always start them to start doing proactive HR. So thinking a little bit ahead and creating like a CRM full of leads, just like marketing process. Throw a things out. Have network not just for sales, but network also for future hiring, so that you always have a few people in your network when you need something.
And network, period, on social media, in person, the whole bit. Network, because that's how you find your best people. That's how you find your best clients. That's how you get your name out there and your brand out there. There's so many reasons to network, but you need to be networking.
But
all the
again,
time.
you know, people mostly focus on the cash flow generating stuff. But so you have to be a bit intentional that you include future HR needs into the networking as well.
Never just solve your problem for right now. Entrepreneurs and business owners, managers, CEOs, presidents, whatever you are, plan for the future too.
That's the worst hiring, because when you need somebody yesterday, you will force yourself to make way too many compromises. And then you go for the hard skills, and you are more likely to overlook the soft skills and personality traits,
which matter
more than the hard skills. Because hiring is like dating. And you know, when you're a bigger company, well, then you have the HR department and so on, and they do the dating part for you. But when you are in those early stages, you have to do the dating. I mean, you can't treat HR as if you go out for a couple of beers, you have a one-night stand, and then in the morning you pop the question.
No, we need a ring on it in HR. We need a ring on it. That's what we need.
But you know what I mean. So you need to take that time.
No, that was a perfect analogy. I'm going to start. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to be like, no one-night stands. You got to put a ring on it.
And you need to step back. You need that firehouse time, and you need to look a little bit ahead. In what direction is my company going? What is our strategy? Who will we need 2, 3, 4, 5 months from now? Okay, we will need, I don't know, web developers. Okay, I need to maybe go to a few meetups, talk with a few people, see who in my network knows those people, and start creating those relationships beforehand.
100%.
Not when you need it yesterday.
I could not possibly agree more. That's some of the best advice that's ever been given on the show, honestly, is the planning ahead for your hiring. I cannot stress that enough. I tell people that I preach that, and I think that it was spectacularly worded as well. So as we're wrapping up, please tell our viewers how they can find you if they would like to watch your show, if they want to connect with you, do business with you, hire you to be their own personal fail coach. How do they get hold of you?
The easiest way is that they can just go to Google and type in fail coach, and I'm still the only one in the world, so they will see.
Well, that's impressive.
Podcasts, LinkedIn profile, Facebook profile, whatever they want. My LinkedIn Live interviews that you've been my guest on are on Mondays on LinkedIn. So just they can connect with me wherever they want. I'm very chatty, as everybody can see.
He's not shy.
And I love having conversations. I love meeting people. So if they want, they can just reach out to me, and I'll be very happy to have a chat. And if I can help in any way, great. If I can't, maybe I can point them in some direction.
Absolutely. And I'm the exact same way, guys. I'm always here to help. If you want a connection, if you want some advice, if you want to come on the show, if you have questions about anything that we talked about here today, need a recommendation, anything like that, please reach out to me. Connect me on LinkedIn. I am one of 2 Catherine McCords, and I'm the only one spelled this way on LinkedIn. So I'm very, very easy to find. I will respond to you and respond to you quickly. And with that, guys, I want to thank you so very, very much for joining us today. Please check out the site, careerlaunchlive.com or careerlaunch2020.com. Either one will work. You can find out our lineup coming up. You can get more information, find out some other places to catch the show as a podcast. And with that, thank you very, very much for joining us, Miha, and we will see you later.
Bye.